box is black, the logic cold.
Invisible forces are silently governing our society. Right now, every single day, complex algorithms are churning through absolute oceans of our personal data. They're learning our behaviors, and they're making decisions that fundamentally shape our lives. But here's the catch. The logic behind those decisions, it's often completely hidden from us. We've officially entered an era where artificial intelligence learns and decides entirely in the dark.
So what exactly happens when the algorithms deciding our fate become a complete mystery? Because of the inherent opacity of these complex AI models, we are increasingly surrendering life-altering choices to mathematical black boxes. We're talking about who gets a mortgage, who's granted a loan, who is deemed a risk. When we can no longer decipher the why behind an algorithm's no, we lose our ability to challenge it. And when that happens, we're effectively stripping away our fundamental rights.
Okay, let's dive into this. On June 19, 2025, the UK passed the Data Use and Access Act, the DUaa, and this sparked an absolute legislative crisis. Why? Because it exploited a massive, dangerous loophole called no meaningful human involvement. Essentially, this allows institutions to slap a token human reviewer onto a process just so they can claim a decision wasn't solely automated. It's a sleight of hand that shields these opaque models from any real public scrutiny, severely diminishing a citizen's fundamental right to an explanation when a life-impacting credit decision is made.
Section 1. The algorithmic accountability gap.
Now, long before this legislative gap was ripped wide open, legal academics and computer scientists were already sounding the alarm. To fight back against these black box systems, an entire technical field emerged, known as explainable AI, or XAI. It's all about computational methods designed to approximate or evaluate the real logic behind an algorithm's predictions. Think of it as a crucial countermeasure. It's our attempt to take the billions of complex mathematical weights inside a neural network and translate them into a clear explanation that a human being can actually understand, and more importantly, contest.
Section 2. Evidence of model failures.
You might be wondering, why is this right to an explanation so absolutely critical? Can't we just trust the math? Well, consider this official deployment figure. A staggering 75% of UK financial services are currently using live AI models for their decisions, 3/4 of the entire financial sector. They're relying on machine learning to determine creditworthiness and allocate resources. When systems operating at this massive scale run without mandatory explanations, a simple error isn't just a technical glitch. It becomes a systemic denial of opportunity for real people.
And let me tell you, these models absolutely do fail. Modern deep neural networks operate on literally millions of hidden parameters, making them incredibly difficult to interpret. Plus, since they train on historical data, they often just amplify historical biases and discrimination. They also make completely bizarre errors. There's this famous example of the Inception v3 image recognition model confidently misclassifying a standard piece of bread as a bagel with a 0.77 probability. But the most dangerous risk of all? It's a psychological trap called automation bias. If a machine says, "deny the loan," the perfunctory human reviewer almost always blindly agrees. They trust the flawed algorithmic output, meaning the whole thing is effectively automated anyway, even if there's technically a human in the loop.
Section 3. Origins of the black box.
Let's take a quick walk back through the timeline of this black box concept, because the history is actually fascinating. The term first emerged way back in the 1940s at the MIT Radiation Lab during World War II. They were describing literal physical radar boxes where engineers only cared about the inputs and outputs, ignoring the complex wiring inside. By 1956, Ross Ashby formalized this in his work on cybernetics, basically arguing that observing complex systems as black boxes was a completely valid scientific method. Fast forward to the 1980s, the connectionist boom kicks off, giving rise to early neural networks which inherently operated just like those black boxes. We saw the real danger of this in 2017. Researchers realized their highly accurate horse recognition models were actually cheating. They weren't recognizing horses at all. They had just learned to spot hidden copyright watermarks that happened to be on horse photos. And that evolution brings us right up to 2025, where the UK duaa has officially legally protected these uninterpretable neural networks with a massive accountability gap.
Before we move on, if you're enjoying this story or finding it helpful or entertaining, please subscribe and hit the like button. It helps bring more stories like this to the channel.
Now, the good news is researchers are actively fighting back against this opacity. They're using an incredibly cool new approach called mechanistic interpretability. It's basically the process of reverse engineering artificial neural networks to understand their internal, step-by-step decision-making mechanisms. Think of it like a software engineer decompiling binary code to see how it ticks. To do this, they use tools like sparse autoencoders, which essentially filter out the noise and simplify the chaotic data, helping to untangle those dense activations inside the network. It's like finding the exact wire that caused the light bulb to turn on, mapping out the precise causal chains that lead an AI to make a specific choice.
But here's where things get really messy. While scientists are working overtime to pry open the black box, politicians globally are completely split on whether we even have the right to look inside. It's a massive regulatory divergence. On one hand, you have the United Kingdom and Westminster dangerously deregulating and diminishing our rights with the DUA. But right across the channel in Brussels, the European Union's Court of Justice has gone the opposite direction, crystallizing and strictly protecting the fundamental right to an explanation for automated decisions. And then over in the USA, Washington, D.C. takes a totally different route, strongly enforcing domain-specific consumer protection laws, like mandating adverse action notices whenever someone gets denied credit.
Section 4. Accuracy versus interpretability. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is understanding exactly why data scientists keep building systems that we cannot legally or practically explain. It boils down to two verified theories. Theory 1 argues for a strict accuracy-interpretability trade-off. The idea is that these highly complex black box models just perform better because their complexity allows them to find incredibly subtle, nonlinear relationships in the data. But the cost is total human incomprehension. Theory 2, however, completely challenges that. It argues that black box models aren't actually mathematically superior. Instead, they're just engaging in selective learning. Just like that horse recognition model, they find hidden proxies, maybe a zip code that correlates strongly with a certain demographic, instead of using actual valid features. If we force models to be interpretable, we actually prevent them from cheating with those hidden discriminatory proxies.
Section 5. A new right to explanation.
So given all these massive risks of proxy learning and automation bias, how do we actually recover from the UK policy disaster created by the DUA? Well, legal experts argue the solution is shifting the burden away from data privacy laws and over to consumer protection laws. The reality is, basic data protection laws just aren't enough anymore. Their definitions of automated processing are way too easy for massive corporations to sidestep. We need a technology-neutral right to an explanation, enforced by a specialized domain regulator, like the Financial Conduct Authority, or FCA. Think about it. If the FCA requires a clear explanation for all adverse credit decisions, whether a human or an AI made the call, it instantly creates a massive market incentive for firms to build systems that are explainable by design right from the start. Which leaves us with this final, profound reality. The algorithmic accountability gap we've been talking about isn't just some technical glitch or a boring legal loophole. If an algorithm denies you a home, a loan, or a future, and absolutely no human can explain why, are you still truly free? Thank you for hanging around until the end. If you want to see more documented deep dives, hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next one.